Hello, Abundant Life, and welcome to the second installation of Frequently Asked Questions, the FAQ from ALC. I'm your host, Mike Swall, and I'm here to answer some questions today. First question comes to us from Jeff. Jeff asks, pardon me, in Genesis 4, after establishing that Adam and Eve were the first humans, at verse 14 and 15, the following you can read, "Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. But the Lord said to him, not so. Anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. Then the Lord put a mark on Cain so that no one who found him would kill him." The big question is, where did these other people come from, and who are they? So just to refresh your memory, this is the story that comes immediately after Cain killing Abel, his brother. And he runs from the safety of home, and the Lord banishes him, and he says, "I can't take this punishment. I'm worried that other people are going to kill me." And the Lord then protects Cain from being killed. So Jeff's big question, who are these other people? If Adam and Eve procreated, made Cain and Abel, then who else is there to be afraid of? Which is a fantastic question. What's going on here? So there's a couple of different answers for you. I'm going to leave this up to you to decide because this is proto-history. This is pre-history kind of stuff. And since none of us were there, we can't answer with any certainty. But here are a couple of options for you with regard to Adam and Eve. First option. The first option is it is possible that Adam and Eve had other children that we don't know about, that weren't recorded, and who may have populated the rest of the plains around the garden. Now, who knows how long Adam and Eve were in the garden? Maybe it was a really, really long time. You know, they lived a couple 900 years, so maybe they had some time to procreate. So it could be that these are Adam and Eve's other children, which would mean that they procreated amongst themselves and then sort of populated the rest of the world. That's option number 1, other kids. Option number 2, Adam and Eve are created first, and then as the Lord finishes creating Adam and Eve out of the dust of the earth, God continues to create even as Adam and Eve are being raised in the garden. So there's a sense in which God has started with the first couple, but then continues on. Now, this doesn't really square with the whole then God rested from his work, but that's one option. So God is at work creating other people, even as Adam and Eve have already been created. Thirdly, God creates a whole bunch of people right at the beginning. And as God creates a whole bunch of people, the storyteller, the one who's writing this, possibly, some people say it was Moses. It doesn't matter who wrote the Pentateuch right now, but Genesis is written, and the one who's writing Genesis zooms in. So this is a microscopic view of things that are happening at a much more macro level. So God has created a whole bunch of people, and then the writer of Genesis zooms in and says, let's take a look at this proto-couple, Adam and Eve. So that's option 3. Option 4 is that Adam and Eve are either mythical, largely exemplary. They're created in the mind of the storyteller. Not that God didn't make people, but the mind of the storyteller says, I want to show you really what's going on in humanity. And so Adam and Eve are created in this picture, not as the first humans, but as exemplary humans. The story is told so that they are kind of this is what the first couple could have been like, and this is how sin entered the world, and this is how people started to turn on each other. So there are obviously other people around because Adam and Eve aren't factual people. This is the version of the story that says this is more of a mythical morality than it is an actual historical version of things. And those are the 4 main ways that I would answer that question that had been asked. I'm not going to camp on one of them, honestly, mostly because I think all of them are trying to be faithful to the narrative while trying to make sense of what's going on there. And for me, I can't be really dogmatic about the beginning because I wasn't there and nobody else was either, particularly prior to creation. So there you have your 4 options. I'm sure there are many more options. Those are just the ones I know about. But take your pick and keep digging, keep asking. We can work that through. Second question came from Sherry. Sherry asked, how do you enjoy having your office at home now? As most of you know, we sold the building during COVID. It's been crazy. So I moved my whole office home. And well, there's a couple of answers to that for Sherry. First of all, my office is a lot smaller than it used to be. Because I'm in one corner of the basement with a green screen behind me, as you can see. If I move my hand really fast, you can see the green there. So I'm kind of sequestered in the corner. I've got a whole bunch of books up on shelves and a whole bunch more books in boxes that I didn't have enough shelves for. And things are a little more chaotic here. I know if you saw my office at the church, you'd probably say more chaotic, but more chaotic just because I don't have space to put my stuff. I like to kind of spread my stuff around to have a whole bunch of books on my table that I'm reading at the same time, and notebooks and things like that. So answer number 1 is cramped. Answer number 2 for that question, how do you enjoy having your office at home? It's wonderful to be more accessible to my family. It is also very difficult to be more accessible to my family. So that's a plus and a minus. It is, thirdly, much easier to get to work on time. Now, I'm a pretty timely person. Those of you who are watching this that know me know I like to be 10 minutes early is 5 minutes late for me, but I'll say my commute is much easier. I walk down the stairs and voila, here I am. And I like that. It's hard sometimes. As most of you know, my kids are all very musical and they're all playing stringed instruments, violin, viola, violin, and cello. And there is not much quiet. If you listen carefully to the background of almost every video I make, you'll hear some kind of practicing. And so that makes it tough to focus sometimes. It makes it tough to concentrate sometimes. I will say it is much harder reading at home. Simply because of the thundering down the stairs and up and down and everywhere. And finally, it is wonderful to be able to walk upstairs and get a homemade lunch instead of taking whatever I took to work or having to go out somewhere. That's lovely. I said finally, but there's one last thing. I miss seeing people other than my family. I love my family, but I miss people dropping into the office. I miss seeing Karina and Pastor Peter and Rachel when she would come in and all sorts of people that would come in. I miss seeing them. So that's tough for me. As an extrovert, it's hard to be on my own. But those are my answers for today. Keep your questions coming. If you have an interest, you can ask a question right in the comments here, and I see those all the time. So feel free just to comment in and ask another question, or send them to me via email. Most of the questions I've gotten have come via email so far, but keep them coming. I love this kind of stuff. Thank you so much for those of you who asked, and I will see you, quote unquote, this coming Sunday for our Sunday morning live stream. Take care and God bless.